Hi there, I'm John Walden. I'm here today presenting ongoing beaver research at Lower Dover, United for Belize. I'd like to thank HEMBE for hosting another wonderful culture symposium. The format of our talk today is going to be slightly different from usual in that I'm just going to be introducing the site, and then a whole number of our wonderful Belizean research collaborators are going to be talking about their research at Lower Dover. So before starting, I'd also like to thank our funding bodies who make our work possible, the various institutions that also are responsible for so much help and assistance, including the IOA, Niche, and the Beaver Field School. Thank you. Lower Dover is one of several classic period polities in the Belize River Valley. These are small kingdoms focused around civic ceremonial centres. The site core of Lower Dover is largely late classic, 600 to 900 AD, but the surrounding settlement goes back in time earlier. So Floral Park, Barton Mamie were both occupied around 900 BC in the Middle Pre-Classic period. The site core of Lower Dover itself has several large public plazas, two large ancestral eastern pyramids, which we've been investigating in recent years, and a western palatial complex where the ruling elite family would have lived. Surrounding this are several large noble plazuelas where secondary elite families resided. Our broader research questions focus on the lives of the occupants of the kingdom. So whether it be the kings and queens situated in the core, the nobles situated in the large plazuelas adjacent to the core out into the hinterlands, or the commoner farmers. One of our massive research questions is how did the different lives of these individuals intersect? And with those goals in mind, I'm going to pass you over to April, who's going to be talking about settlement research at Floral Park, Barton Mamie, and ongoing research at the Harvard Peabody Museum that she's been involved in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Culture Symposium viewers and organizers, for having us present today. I am April Martinez, and I will be discussing some of the research done at Floral Park and Barton Mamie in the hinterland of Lower Dover. For my Belizeans tuned in, to give you all a bit of geographical sense, Floral Park is on the strip of highway from Orange Gallery up the hill past Hot Mama's to Nord's Farm. Barton Mamie and Floral Park were two large settlements surrounding Lower Dover where we excavated commoner households. Many of these were fairly wealthy households. Some were with elaborate burials, and we also discovered a beautiful late pre-classic round structure in the cow pasture of North Farm. In addition to excavating at Floral Park, I also worked with data collected from Serene to assess changes in commoner households. And in May, I attended an osteology and archival internship at the Harvard Peabody Museum to re-examine remains collected by Gordon Willey from Barton Mamie in the 1950s. Most of this work included working with osteologists to examine the relative and well-being of commoner populations in the northern part of the Lower Dover polity. This internship was near and dear to me because it brought me some nostalgia. Gordon Wiley surveyed Nord's Farm in the 1950s, and Nord's Farm is my second home and where I was raised from my childhood. So I had the pleasure of working and researching my farm in 2018 with John. And this photo was taken from the Eastern Pyramid at Floral Park in 1956. And it shows the Southern Pyramid and Nord's Farm in the background. And this experience has really and truly taught us that we need to engage more with our Belizeans or Belizean students in the field of bioarchaeology. Thank you so much. And Frank, you can take it away from here.
Well, good day everyone. My name is Frank Tzib, and I am from the beautiful village of Oshmulka, place of the Three Hills, now known as San Antonio in the Cayo district. My involvement in the Lower Dover project was not only to share my knowledge in Maya epigraphy, but also to learn an array of skills that enhance my knowledge in archaeological methods. For example, ceramic analysis, supervising excavations of a large commoner household mound called SG-111, and lecturing students on site. I also collaborate with John on the Ancient DNA Consultation Program, where we go around our village interviewing people on their opinion of archaeology and the ancient Maya DNA research in the Belize Valley. We also offer to answer any of their questions and provide additional resources. Through my partnership with Harvard University, I had the opportunity to travel to the US to present my poster on Maya epigraphy in San Antonio at the SAAs. On July 16th, we held our first community outreach in the site of Lower Dover. We hosted 120 people from San Antonio, Socots, Unitedville, Benque, and San Ignacio areas to join us for lectures on different archaeological topics such as residual analysis, food in the ancient Maya iconography, bioarchaeology, and many more topics, after we ate a whole lot of traditional Maya food. In summary, the Lower Dover project catapulted me in sharing skills and information from the archaeological community to my local community. Next up is Jorge Castellanos talking about his excavation at Lower Dover, Plaza F.
Thank you, Frank. As mentioned before, my name is Jorge Castellanos. I started working in archaeology in 2014 at Calpech, and then worked at Martinez in 2021 and 2022, all under the mentorship of Antonio Beardall. This year, I had the opportunity to work with Dr. John at Lower Dover, where we investigated a large, late classic intermediate elite residence to the north of the site core. Plaza F has 4 structures, focused around a central plaza space, and is similar to other medium-sized minor centers in the region because it has a large plaza and an eastern triadic structure. The eastern triadic structure serves as an ancestral shrine for the Mayas lineage living there. Like its larger counterparts at major centers like the Dover and Calpech, the eastern triadic structures has a northern and southern wing. Our excavations focus on this structure as we sought to understand the scale of looting on the site and ancestral rituals conducted there. We wanted to determine what the elites of Plaza F were doing, how often there were, and how the elites living at Plaza F interacted with the commoners and murals at Lower Dover Tiering. Our excavations uncovered evidence that indicated that the people living at Plaza F were not only of high status, but possessed elaborate wealth items such as jade and pottery with Maya blue brick. To date, evidence from the group from our excavations and those conducted by Galen in 2016 suggests it was late classic, rising at the same time as Lower Dover core. Our investigations are still ongoing, and we expect to learn much more about Plaza F elites next summer. Now, Kevin will be speaking about his investigations about the development camp in the area.
Hi, my name is Kevin Bardalez, a lecturer at the University of Belize and historian. Imagine days of piracy. These were the days of bloodshed and larceny. However, by the 1700s, the pirates had a change in lifestyle. You will notice that these early settlers did logwood and then switched to mahogany and moved to hunt our virgin forests of Belize. Now, looking at what is now known today as Lower Dover, it is important to note that it is situated in the area known as Society Hall between Mount Hope and Tiger Run. Now, if you would walk along the limestone river bank of Dover, you would be found at the confluence of Barton Creek, and then you would find ceramics and glass. And just a few meters from this site, you would find the classical Maya ceremonial architecture, which is associated with the core. The owners of Lower Dover, which are Bill and Madeleine Reynolds, They always heard these stories of logwood cutters, and they specifically wanted us and made a request for us to investigate this camp. So important to note is that we are currently conducting archival work to gain more information about this. This involves research in the archives of Belmopan, a follow-up at the British Library to access colonial records. And so next summer, we plan to conduct archaeological surveys and confront the community with interviews to investigate the location of this logging camp. And after we investigate the location of this logging camp through interviews, historical research, and archaeological work, we can then establish what activities the logwood cutters did, and then we can better understand their way of life. Presenting to you next is Mr. Antonio Beardall, an archaeologist and researcher.
One of the important parts of the project this year at Lower Dover was archaeology as collaboration. It was something that was reciprocal between the archaeologists that came to visit and work and the Belizeans who worked alongside with them, which also inspired me to move my PhD research, at least a part of it, to Lower Dover to work with Dr. John Walden and other BVAR staff and with many Belizeans, inspired by what I saw take place this year. I believe collaboration is important. From what I saw this year at Lower Dover, working alongside Dr. Walden and his team and the Belizeans, is that it increases the representation of Belizeans in archaeology, particularly young Belizeans, who were given roles beyond that of just moving buckets, but also assisted in supervising as well as analyzing. I believe this goes a long way in also enhancing how they view themselves in relation to their cultural identity, and this is something that I will investigate for my own research next year at Lower Dover. And when you have this kind of collaboration, it goes a long way in also decolonizing the practice of archaeology by having people who may have a different point of view work alongside people who come to visit archaeologists. This helps in how the information is disseminated because you take away the jargon and the heavy archaeological terms, and you have a young Belizean talking to other Belizeans about the work that you're doing in a way that everyone can understand. And I believe this is something that is very, very important. I believe this year what we witnessed at Lower Dover was how collaboration really impacts Belizeans. There was a bridge that happened between the archaeologists who were working there and the Belizeans who were there and who had a voice in how the work was to be done. When you ask them for their input and points of view, it is very important. But not only that, when you go out into the communities and you ask them, what is it that they want to learn? Because sometimes we think that us as archaeologists, we're the experts in these things, and we go into the communities and we tell them what we think they want to know. But we found out that these people who came to visit for the open day, for example, wanted to know more about food, and thus the open day featured heavily on food. This is important. But this year as well, collaboration went as far as having Belizeans in the roles of supervisors, as well as analyzing artifacts such as ceramics. That is very important. There are still challenges to collaboration in Belize, however. One of that is that there is still this distance between projects that come to visit and the Belizean public, whether it's the projects not going into the communities or just hiring Belizeans as field hands. There's also a lack of funding when it comes to this kind of research, maybe because it is not seen as being academically important enough. And when you lack academic coverage of this kind of research, then it might not be seen as important and takes a backseat to everything else.